oh, he's cute. Like, we were just like, oh my God, we have so much of our, like, the deep fabric of who you are as a person aligned.
Right.
And pretty quickly into dating, my mom and I had this thing where I was like, if you want to get to know a person, you go camping with them. So we found this really cool, like off-grid little step up from a cabin, and he brought his camera along, and that kind of like, and this was only 2 months into us dating, that is really when it started.
Yeah, this was 2010.
Yeah.
So cool.
And you should take over from there because it's really fun.
Oh. Well, I mean, I was always taking my camera wherever I went forever. But so yeah, we were at this really cool off-grid cabin, and
it was the Milky Way.
Right. We did some astrophotography, just because it was out there. It was upstate New York, but northwestern Catskills.
Cooperstown area.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, outside of Cooperstown.
It's a nice dark sky. Like, you could see the Milky Way. It was my first time. It was really cool. But like, we also got these really beautiful photos because it was December of the Milky Way with the cabin.
Yeah.
And then also just some really nice interiors, just for fun, just to like post on Facebook for our families to see.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And he got the idea to email the guy who was an artist from the city, and he was like, this, see if he wants to barter these photos that he can use for his listing in exchange for us to go back and stay.
Right.
And
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I didn't even know that was a thing that you could do.
I mean, it really wasn't, but we figured it out.
But like, just the concept of bartering your services, it's like, oh wow, yeah, no, that is a thing that you can do.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So he was super receptive to it, and thus kind of started this idea. We were like, we've got this unique skill set. At the time, it was just him with photography, and we can really turn this into something. Just at that moment, we were like, because we're broke and we want to stay at cool places.
Yeah.
And so like, there was like another place in Vermont where we did it. We would put the bait out, which is book the place, take the photos, and then reach back out to see if we could get more stays.
Right.
And it worked.
Right. And then, yeah, we basically were like, all right, there could be a career here.
Yeah. At the very least, a side hustle.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
and we knew at least going that route to build a portfolio would be the smart thing to do.
And we were already using Instagram to just post them on your audio page.
Right. Before I went and started the other one. But yeah, so it was kind of, it was less promotion, more just photos for them to use however they wish, whether it was listing or just on their own, have them.
It was only 6 months after that first one in December 2015 when he was like, I'm thinking we need to start a separate Instagram for this.
Yep.
What do you think about this and this name?
Yep.
And it really just like, we took it so seriously right out the gate. We were like, we've got something here.
And we discussed it prior to starting that Instagram. We both used Instagram a lot on our own personal pages, and we're always seeing, these cabins popping up from time to time, and they were beautiful. And we know this is something we could photograph just as well. But everyone was gatekeeping
the locations
where these places were.
Yeah.
Because they were photographers and that was just their work, and they didn't want other photographers.
Even though the places were available on Airbnb for the most part.
Right.
Interesting.
You could find them.
Right. So we definitely...
We saw a connection there.
We saw a connection there and made a decision that this opportunity that's there to not just photograph these places, but then also help promote the location itself to boost bookings, just wasn't happening on social media at that time. So that was our just, this could be a thing. Let's try it.
Yeah. And it really took off.
It did. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you guys literally are pretty much the start of this whole trend. I mean, maybe not the exact start, but like the
it's hard to really figure that out. But I'd say like between us and like the Kyle Findempseys and the KJPs of the world.
Right. Mm-hmm. They were really the only others in the space showcasing
the places and really telling people about them.
Yeah. From time to time they were. Yeah. But it was more of a, let's just tell a story
Mhm.
versus,
Let's
hey,
promote the place.
let's talk about this place and promote this place.
Yeah.
You know, let's tell you why you might want to stay here.
Yeah.
And that was really it.
Yeah, that's
really
where we found like a new twist on it.
right. Yeah.
And you said something interesting, which I'm part of we've had cabin shooters on here, and I'm part of a cabin shooting group chat, I guess as we call it, like a group chat, and people bounce ideas off, and people talk about a lot the can we stay for free and trade photos? And I've always sort of said, I like what you guys did. I'd rather you pay for the room and build your portfolio and then value your work and value who you are later on. Like,
yeah,
we knew that it would have to be that way. You can't.
And when people ask, that's always our best advice, is to be like, you know, you kind of have to literally pay your way.
Right.
Like,
right.
Because, like, yeah, you can be an amazing photographer, and I mean, there's millions of them, but unfortunately, the people need to see what you're capable of in a space.
Right.
And if you don't have that, you have to build up.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. And I think there's we talk about it often in a lot of different industries, but this artists seem to be, I think, more emotional. I'm being stereotypical maybe, but more emotional than business centered people. Right. And the idea of someone liking your art or liking your work is worth a lot. Like someone saying like, I would give you the opportunity to stay at my place for free for a few of your photos because I really like your work, is like, oh yeah, okay. Like we take that very personally in a nice way. But then there's the business side of it where it's like, okay, well, whether it's a cabin or a product or whatever it is this is marketing. They're making a lot of money. It's paying their mortgage. It's paying their second home. It's paying whatever it is by your photos. There should be some sort of reciprocal thank you, essentially, for that.
Right.
And I think it's something that this industry fights all over the place. And I mean, you have clothing, companies. They're like, we'll give you a jacket for full rights to all your photos, or cabins that might say like, you can stay for free. Like we'll trade a stay for stuff. And then they're using the photos for years to book nights. So it's a thing that's going on here. I'm curious if you feel like you have to fight that at this point now a little bit and feel like there is that competition of the bar being lowered by, like you said, there's lots of photographers now on Instagram that a lot of them have a decent amount of talent too. And a lot of them are willing to like, yeah, I'll go stay for free and give you I'll give you 100 photos.
Yeah.
And then you're like, I'll give you 20 really nice photos for X, Y, and Z. And they're like, well, that person said they'll give me 100 for free. So I'm curious if you're fighting any of that or that sort of tide that's going through this industry.
Knock on wood, we have not experienced the like lowballing like metaphor there. I mean, we have people that'll reach out and be like, I'd love to do an exchange. And we're very honest. We're like, we don't barter. We can't barter. This has become a full-time job.
Right.
Back when I was still working full-time, it was different. It'd be like, if that's what they can give us, then that's, we still want to build. So that's what we're going to do. But nowadays we are quite firm in that regard and have not run into an issue, because once we're like, these are our full-time jobs, we're traveling out of state for a lot of this. And they're like, yeah, you know what? That is very valid. So yes, please send me your rates. Like,
yeah. And I mean, we definitely years ago, seeing seeing photographers coming up and trying to do what we were doing, at first it was like, okay, like we got to just stay on course.
Yeah.
I have the studio and have been an audio engineer for since the early 2000s, and that became a full-time career. And this actually kind of took over, and this is kind of just part-time now, but working for myself for many, many years was a big learning experience in the studio. And it translated, and being in bands actually, translated really well to exactly this situation here, where when I got into audio recording, I was, this was reel to reel, ADAT, back before home recording was really much of an option, or accessible. And I was in it through the flooding of home recording studios. And I had to kind of battle that through that, where, I had artists and bands who were interested in recording with me, but they were like, I can't afford that. And this person says, I'll do it for free at home at their home studio. So we're going to go with them. And, it took me a little while, but I learned pretty quickly that, all right, let that happen.